or 5377. Okay. Thank you. And you can also join via telephone at 1-669-900-6833. And again, the meeting continues to be on our YouTube channel. People can stream it. And just for your information, if you want to make a public comment, make sure that you log into our Zoom to be able to make a public comment, as that will be part of the official transcripts of our meeting tonight. We do have a Spanish translator that's available as well. And so with that, I will ask the city clerk if she can do roll call, please.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fernando Cabrera. He is on. Councilmember Fernando Anzaldo Sanchez.
Here.
Rista Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Ben.
Here.
Okay, thank you. So just as a reminder then, council, when we make any, when we vote tonight, then we have to do a roll call vote, correct? Because Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem is on, Mayor Tem Cabrera is online. Okay. Okay, perfect. So we'll move on then to our next item on our agenda, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. And if we can please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I can ask Maria, if you can lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Yes.
Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
To the
America,
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, do we have any additions or modifications to the agenda?
We do have one, the Little League can't attend tonight because they are actually in a championship game. So we will actually, ask if we can push that back. And I don't know if Darlene confirmed the date that they will be. Okay,
So we'll, yeah,
Tomorrow I'll be there.
okay, so we'll either push it back to the 18th or July 2nd, depending on their availability.
yeah, perfect. And I know that I received that information as well yesterday that they won and they're moving on to the next round. So congratulations. We wish you guys good luck on your championship game and bring home a W. So okay, so with that, we will look at the next date where we can recognize them. Any other, is that the only addition or modification?
That is it.
Okay, perfect. So with that, then we'll move on to our next item, which is our public comments. So at this time, any member of the public may address the city council on items not appearing on the agenda and items of interest to the public that are within the jurisdiction of the city council. Please make sure there is a limit of 3 minutes. If you can please be brief, and if you can join us in the podium to make sure that those that are joining us also via Zoom are able to hear the comments. So with that, then I will open it up to public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time?
My name's Maria Rusconi, and I just have a couple of comments. I did go to the transfer to traffic, and that was really informative. I just have one comment regarding that on the issue, whether you're driving or, and I'm a walker, I walk a lot. I walked here tonight. And on East and Market Street, when the cars are trying to come from Market and go all the way across to the other market, that is, yeah, they really stick out and it's dangerous. I don't know if there's anything maybe in the future that can be done about that. Especially coming out of the roundabout, you know. It's just a dangerous spot right there. And then now you have the MST there also, you know, so between the walkers and the cars, because they really protrude out from Market. Okay. The other thing is, I do like the work that's being done, the stop signs, the cameras that are being, it really helps for walkers, because that puts us out further past the parking. The only comment I have, I don't know if there's anything that you guys can do about it. I know, I found out from our mayor that the pro temp, I was hoping to did. For the MST, I know the routes are all the way around, but it's more so the edge of town. For instance, for the seniors and that live there for disabled, there's no stop. You have to come all the way on East, the corner of East and Market. And then they have to go through, the roundabout. So that's kind of dangerous if they're carrying something or whatever. If, you know, there's other spots that are maybe can look at to make it a little closer. You know, if they have to go to the doctors or whatever to say to go to the clinic in town. There isn't anywhere close to there as a drop off. But otherwise, I like everything that's happening.
Thank you. And Maria, can you just clarify, it's the seniors that are living
Like
in the,
The housing.
The housing.
there. And then
On the-
also too, like on the older sides of town, you have, because you have the other little markets and there's no bus stop that
Mhm.
drops off or comes up. And if they don't qualify for the rides, they have to walk or depend on someone to do it. So,
yeah, thank you. And can I just make I know we're not supposed to respond back, but if we'll take the information and then we'll get to you some of the correct information in terms of the routes and some of the services that still do exist. Okay.
And if I can ask Darlene to make sure we have your contact information so we can. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Here's the last members of the city council. I'm John Rodriguez. I'm the vice president of the South Pacific Twin Board. And we had our memorial service, and I'm sure you can see, you know, what a great job we did with it. And we're gonna keep on trying to keep it going. And the second reason I came in July the 6th, which is next month, is Mario Martinez Day. And I'm willing to work with Mr. Cabrera or anybody for this to be successful, because I was good friends with Mario. He was won a silver medal in the Olympics for weightlifting, and he was from Saudade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any additional comments from those that are here in our chambers? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Do we have any comments? Okay, I see no hands raised, so I will close the public comment portion of our agenda today, and then we'll move on to our next item of business. And at this time, we have our youth council report. So if our youth council is here, yes, I see him here. They'll provide a youth council year of the end report and life skills initiative presentation. Mhm.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Angelina Flores, and I'm a senior at Soledad High School.
I'm Giovanni Bravo, and I'm a junior at Soledad High School. We don't go to Soledad.
We're excited to be here today to share the results of a project we worked on throughout the Soledad Youth Council, that being.
The life skill class survey.
So this survey gathered input from 135 high school students about life skills they want to learn, both in school and through community programs. We ran the survey starting from April and concluded it in May. The Soledad Youth Council worked hard to create and advertise the survey and outreach to teachers and peers to get the word out to us.
Devin said we created a survey to understand what classes our peers wanted to see and help the school and city create these programs that help prepare everyone for adulthood.
We focus on topics like financial literacy, driving, gardening, and culinary, which are skills that are used and needed in real life situations.
These are the demographics we collected from 135 student responses, the majority being juniors
Mm.
and the majority being women across all grade levels.
But overall, we received a wide range of voices across all grade levels, making this data representative of most students. So let's talk about the top results. The overwhelming majority of students said that they would like to see driver's education,
With second being cooking classes.
as well as financial literacy. As you can see, there's a strong interest in like driver's education, which is like a skill that like supports independence, and cooking and financial literacy, which supports like safety and health.
Why does driver's ed matter? Many students said that the importance for them is since they don't have the transportation and need to, to get to DMV and don't have the proper source by having a vehicle to take them.
With culinary, students want to gain independence and take better care of their health through cooking and nutrition. While we do have a culinary class at the high school, it's also fully class and unfortunately not everyone can get in. I believe this would be important since it'll give students the opportunity to learn about this when they're not doing that.
Mhm.
Why does financial literacy matter for young adults? Students share that they don't know how to manage money, and that's a key crucial need for adults, young adults going into adulthood, learning how to balance their taxes and build credit at a young age to benefit them in the future.
On top of gathering interest about like what students felt that they needed to learn, like life skills, we also asked if they felt like those were just successful in general. 31% said that they felt like they were accessible, which is great. 47 said that they're somewhat accessible, and 22% said that they're not accessible. So while many students know these programs, they either don't know how to access them or just don't feel like they're accessible.
Other suggested classes we got by peers was mechanics and car maintenance for the audio students, for those that do have a vehicle, wanting to know how to maintain and preserve their vehicle as much as they can.
As well as business like startup education for those like students that
Mm.
want to pursue entrepreneurship.
As well as CPR and first aid for those that don't have much experience.
As well as like other classes like theater, American Sign Language, nursing law, which many more.
Would most students want to see classes that prepare them for adulthood or allow them to grow in those specific areas that they lack?
So based on all this stuff that we're showing you, our recommendation is to create a flexible life skills program that includes driver's education, financial literacy, culinary skills, wellness, and more.
Whether to the school district or the city, we're looking for a partnership to incorporate these great ideas into our district.
It's been such a great experience working with youth council on this project. Thank you, Mayor Anna Velasquez and City Council for listening. My experience in the youth council has been really enriching as we learned how to engage our peers to advocate for classes they want to see in their community. And I hope we were able to properly demonstrate your expertise.
Thank you so much for your time and supporting youth voices.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Yeah, thank you for providing the presentation, and let me open it up to the council, any comments or questions that they may have. And I'll start with Councilmember Calder.
I just want to say thanks for this beautiful presentation here. Most of the items that you came up with the survey here, stuff that when we were growing up were actually part of our education there, which is and all of these right here we actually took, and it's really nice to see that the youth are still interested, and which will probably be, I'm sure it will help in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Councilmember
thank you.
Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. I'm like, how do I say this without sounding some type of way? But I didn't have those classes. I think it dipped down during like my time. But I know that driver's education is something that's important. And I recognize that a lot of folks may not be able to afford it. I was fortunate enough that my parents did pay for those for myself, but I know that not everybody has access to that. And I know that driving issues are really prevalent, especially here in our area, especially in like rural roads. Unfortunately, I know of 3 different individuals that I went to high school with that passed away in driving related accidents near town. So it is something that I think is very important. And I think that do we still have a youth law enforcement program? I know I saw that in the survey. I thought we had something.
We did, but because of staff shortages, we had to put it on hold. But it's something I think the new chief, when hopefully the background finishes and we can announce him, is interested in looking at how to restart.
Yeah, because I do think that all of these are really important things, and I hope that we can figure out a way to kind of fill these gaps either as a city or in collaboration with the school board. And I think it's really exciting that you are doing surveys and stuff. I think data and assessments really cool. I know not everybody does, but I think it's cool. And if you all ever go to college, if that's the route you decide to take, this is really good experience for that too. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Benuelos?
You guys did a great job. I'm sorry I missed the summit this past weekend, but you know what? I want to echo what Council Member Caldera said, because we had that in school, you know, but it's just service to you guys, because you know what? We need to bring that back, not, you know, for you guys and for the next generations. And I echo again on Sando Sanchez, we need to collaborate together with you know, the school district. My question is really quick. Do you guys attend those school district boards to express like what you guys, and are they supportive with it, or like, are they able to support and collaborate with us as well to bring those to you guys?
Yeah, so we're actually gonna present this next week, since that's gonna be the show. But yeah, so we do attend this meeting.
Okay, awesome. And you know, you guys' voice are big. And you know, and my question to you is, are you gonna continue being a commissioner in whatever college you go to?
You know, I hope to. I have to find some opportunities wherever I go. I am a senior, so I'm gonna graduate this year. So I've had to commissioner with student council, but I hope to like kind of find those leadership. So.
Awesome. Yay, thank you.
Yay.
Of course, you'll be
Thank
on
you.
board next year. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I did attend the summit, so thank you for the invitation. I know I wasn't able to stay all day. Had to leave to see my niece was playing in the Soledad High School softball championship game as well. So wanted to make sure I saw her as well. But you guys did an amazing job. The speaker was incredible. So the selection of the speakers, the just, you know, the layout of the room and the students that were there. I know when I was leaving, another bus was coming. So I know you guys had a full house. So excited about that. So congratulations on the summit. Thank you for the survey as well. I think all of the topics that you talked about are critical, but also, you know, obviously we grew up in different times, but when I went to high school, we also had some of those courses. So I would recommend when you talk to the school district saying those courses were part of the curriculum of the school in prior, you know, many years, right? But also looking at what can they do in collaborating, because I think the school district has a better opportunity than we do in terms of what our role is as city council members in terms of our responsibility. But for some of those is also looking at the CHP, working with the DMV, working also with the superintendent of schools, if there's an opportunity to be able to add those back as electives and add additional electives to the schools. I think that would be really, really important. And I know our CHP, we actually have one of our CHP officers that lives here in Soledad, Jessica Madueño. And I know she was interested in working to be able to do some training and classes, especially because there is a lot of data that the CHP has as well in terms of the accidents or collisions for young adults, right? And our 101. So there's a lot of data that supports the need for the driver education courses. So I think looking at some of that data and saying that also to the school district, there is data available through our local CHP on that to be able to support that. How do obviously the partnership, but I think it's more in line with what is easier and more available done through the school in terms of the driver's ed. The culinary cooking classes, I know that Jessica's doing a really great job. We have a kitchen now, and so we're able to provide more opportunities. And we have like the young pots, or what is it, the young culinary, classes, tiny chefs. Maybe we could do, a teenager chef, right? And be able to do that, to offer those. Those are important for us as well, to be able to provide those opportunities to you. But I just want to say thank you for the life skills. I think that's really essential, especially as you move forward in your next journey in college, or what you're going to do. And Giovanni, you still have another year, but still, right, those are really important. Financial literacy, I think I said that day, it's critical. So those are really important. So just want to say thank you again for all the work that you guys have done to represent the city as commissioners. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Don't forget about me.
Oh, yes. Literally.
I did forget about you, so thank you for reminding me. Yes, so if you guys want to come back to the podium, Mayor Pro Tem.
No, I'm just want to thank you guys for all the work that you do, and remember that you're leaders of the community and the schools. A lot of young people are looking up to you, and see if thinking that they might be able to do the same that you guys do. So thank you so much for all you do. And I have seen you in several events in that community. So it's nice that people can see you in that community, and as leaders as well. Hopefully, one day you will, one of you will be, or both of you guys will be in one of those seats. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that reminder. Okay, so with that, then we will move. Thank you. And I know we have some certificates, but I think that they're coming on our next portion of it. So let's do the certificate. Can we do the certificates first? I know are they here? Right, because I don't see them on your agenda.
Oh, certificates for the youth council?
Yes,
Did we?
yes, we do.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We have certificates for the youth
Yes,
council?
so let's do that before we move on to the council presentation, since we have you here. It only makes sense. So what we like to do at this time, I know not all the youth council is here. So we do have yours, Angelina. So we want to make sure that we provide this certificate for you. And I know you'll be graduating, so we're really super excited, and congratulations. I know the graduation in next Saturday. Yeah, and I'll say congratulations in advance because I won't be able to be there. It's the first time I missed the graduation, but please know that I'm there in spirit. So in honor of your outstanding service and leadership as a member of the Soledad Youth Council, your commitment to civic engagement, peer advocacy, and community. Oh, we do have more members of the community. Yes. Okay. So at this time, let's have the youth, all of the members of the youth council that are here, join us.
I should say their names.
Okay, awesome. So you guys are gonna have to help me out here. So let me read it, and it's I want to make sure we finish reading some of the recognitions through collaboration has made a meaningful impact on the lives of the youth in our city. Through your participation, you have elevated youth voices, supported our regional initiatives, and exemplified the values of responsibility, compassion, and leadership. As you graduate and take the next step in your journey, the City of Soledad proudly recognizes your contributions and thanks your dedication to building a stronger, more inclusive community. Congratulations and best wishes for your continued success. So each of you have one of these certificates, and I know there's other youth commissioners that are not here with us, but what I like to do is at this time is maybe allow each one of you to say a few words, and not because we only have like a minute. If you want to just do a minute to be able to share, and then we'll give the certificates.
I'll go first. I'll admit I didn't really hear anything.
That's okay.
But I just want to say thank you so much. I've been in the sorry. I've been in the youth council since roughly 8th grade, so that's maybe like a year after it was created. And it's just been, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone for sure. It made me really like do public speaking. There's something I was not comfortable with like at all. Like I was honestly really timid and shy like as a freshman and grader. But I feel like by being a part of it, it really like pushed me to do things that I haven't really done, and it's kind of like made me made me connect with people I wouldn't have with. And yeah, it's just been like a really great experience. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Angelina.
Through the chair, can they speak up a little bit? Because I cannot hear what they say.
Okay, thank you for noting that. So if we can just get closer to the microphone? Yeah,
Oh,
no, it's okay. You're good. Yeah, you're good. And if you don't want to speak, you don't have to, so don't feel obligated, please.
I'd like to mention, like Angelina said, yeah, it's my first full year being part of the youth council. I started last summer through a different program that was based off of this, being White Park. And I liked everything that White Park stood for, with everything having to do youth ideas within the community. And knowing people that I didn't know were interested in this type of space. And I just like the source of communication through new people I've met along the journey so far. It's been just this year. Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't want to, you don't have to, don't. Yeah, you guys are fine. Okay, well, thank you so much. And I think what we'll do at this time, then, let me just read, I want to just read off the names of everyone on the youth council. So we have, obviously, Angelina Flores is here with us. And then I'm probably gonna say this incorrectly, but Chikamsa Elele. Yes, thank you for that. Isaac Pisano, and he's not with us. Elisa Perez. Jocelyn Amaro, Melissa Dueñez, Natalie Milan, Jasmine Lara, Kimberly Flores. So congratulations to all of our youth council. Thank you. And so if we can, we have one more presentation, but if you can stay so we can take some photos. So we just have one proclamation to on this item, and then we can pause for a bit. Okay, and then I'll hand the certificates to you. Okay, thank you. So at this time, then we'll move on to our next proclamation. And if I can hand this over to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez to be able to read the proclamation. And that's a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Soledad recognizing June 3rd as World Bicycle Day.
All right. Whereas the United Nations declared June 3rd as World Bicycle Day in 2018 to recognize the bicycle's longevity, versatility, and contribution to sustainable development and social inclusion. And whereas the humble bicycle has long served as an emblem of freedom, health, and sustainability, offering a simple, affordable, and reliable means of transportation for people of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas bicycles offer an economical, healthy, and environmentally responsible transportation option, while also serving as a source of recreation and a means of experiencing the scenic beauty of the city of Soledad. And whereas the use of bicycles benefits public health, improves air quality, alleviates traffic congestion, reduces infrastructure maintenance costs, and enhances safety and accessibility for all road users. And whereas the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, also known as TAMC, has been a strong advocate for active transportation in the county and has supported and funded various initiatives in Soledad to enhance bike infrastructure, including the West Street Complete Streets project. And whereas the 2025 global theme, Cycling for a Sustainable Future, highlights the role of bicycles in reducing carbon emissions, promoting health equity, and building resilient connected communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Soledad proclaims June 4th as World Bicycle Day in the City of Soledad and encourages residents to ride their bikes or consider serving on TAMC's Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee to help make Soledad a more bike-friendly city.
Thank you. And then do we have, I don't see them online. Are they online? Oh, Aridan? Adrian? Oh, thank you. I'm having trouble with my, so it's Ariadne. Thank you. Zambrano. Okay, so can you come up to the podium?
I just say forward.
Yes.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much, council members and chairs. We're really excited to receive this proclamation. I mean, I definitely, my team and our agency have been working really diligently with the city of Soledad for a variety of different projects, and a couple of my other colleagues like Ariana Green, also Erin Hernandez, Yannicka Strauss, have been actively involved here in the city of Soledad for a variety of processes, but we're really excited. We've been trying to see if anybody is interested in becoming a member for our bike and pedestrian committee for the city of Soledad. We have 2 open positions for the main rep, but also an alternate. So we're super excited. But yeah, we are constantly working on, promoting all the other forms of transportation and biking and helping to bike infrastructure. So we're super excited. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And we do have, I had a couple of people interested yes, I know, because we want to make sure South County has representation. So please, I do have 2 applicants that had shown interest. So I'm glad to see that there's 2. So if anybody else is interested, please reach out to the city so we can make sure that we send you the application and we can go through that process. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, council, so with that, before we move on to our consent calendar, if we can just pause for a few minutes and allow us to take a photo with our youth commissioners that are here and with Tamzia. Council, then at this time, we move on to our, thank you everyone, for your patience as we pause for a minute to make sure we congratulate our seniors that were here with our youth commissioners and also our representatives from TAMSI. So at this time, I will move on to our next item, for tonight, and it's a consent calendar. So we do have, we have 13 items on our consent calendar for today. So at this time, do any members of the public wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion or comment? Seeing none here in our chambers, I'll take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Do any members that are joining us via Zoom wish to pull the consent calendar for comment or discussion? Okay, seeing no hands raised, then I will bring it back to the council. If there's any council members that wish to pull any items from the consent calendar for comment and discussion. Okay, seeing none, then
I don't
Oh,
know if we
sorry.
need to confirm with council member
Oh,
or
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't see
Cabrera.
Mayor Cabrera.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. No, I don't have any.
Okay. So if there is no, none of the council members pulled an item. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve items on the consent calendar. First.
I so second.
Okay, so speak up, council members. So I have a first on the floor from Councilwoman Banuelos and a second from Councilman Ansando Sanchez. Can we get a roll call vote, please? Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for all of those reports, informational reports on our consent calendar. So we'll move on then to our next item for today, and that is a public hearing. So we will, for the public hearing, we'll receive the staff report. We'll open the public hearing. We'll close, come back, close a public hearing, and then we'll move forward with council action. So at this time, we will receive the staff report on the ordinance number 722, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Soledad amending section 3.24080, bidding procedures for public works construction projects of chapter 3.24 purchase system of Soledad Municipal Code.
Mayor and council, we had a full presentation on this particular matter when we had our meeting on May 21st. It's a lot of words, a lot of ink for some relatively minor but significant changes. And so I'll just briefly go over again what the ordinance covers. As you're aware, the city follows the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, which is embedded in our code. And that's an act that's an alternative to the usual process that we would use for bidding for public works projects. And as a reminder, public works projects are projects for the construction, remodeling, renovation, and so forth of facilities that are owned or leased by the city. And the usual process would be that we would have to go out to a formal bid, publish notice, receive bids, go through this whole process. And under the act that I've referenced, which we have embraced and embedded into our code, we're allowed to circumvent the bidding requirements for certain types of contracts. The act breaks the contracts into 3 different categories: no bid, which is the easiest for us to just negotiate with somebody directly; informal bid, which allows us to contact and ask for quotes from different contractors for work that needs to be done; and then the final, which is formal bidding, as we had done in the past. And each one of those categories has a financial threshold attached to it. So for instance, for the no bid, the way that the code currently reads is that for contracts that are under $60,000, public works contracts that are under $60,000, we don't have to go out to bid. Due to some recent legislation that took effect on January 1 of this year, those financial thresholds have been changed now. They are now set at $75,000 for the no bid, $220,000 for the informal bid, and anything over $220,000 requires the full formal bidding process. This particular scheme for public works contracts has been very helpful to the city in that it allows us to deal with relatively minor projects on an expedited basis without the expense and hassle of having to prepare notices and so forth. So we heartily endorse this scheme, and we also then obviously recommending to you that you adopt these new financial thresholds. We also made one other minor change to the definition of a public works contract to include, now that I said that, I want to make sure that to include installation, which was not included once before as a public works contract. And that's important for things like if we wanted to put a new HVAC system into one of the buildings that we own or something like that, we might be able to avoid having to go out for the full bidding process if it came into one of those other two categories. So that's what you have before you this evening. We have noticed a public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the law. So you should open the public hearing, take any comments, close the public hearing, and then consider whether or not this evening you want to waive reading, waive reading, adopt, and read by title only the ordinance that's before you, ordinance 0772.
Okay. So it's waive, adopt, and read by title only?
Yes, and you've actually already read
Read
the title of the ordinance when you introduced the item, so probably no need to actually read it again if the council so adopts resolution or ordinance 772.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So with that, I will open the public hearing at 6:47. And so I'll take any comments, questions from those that are joining us here in our chambers. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I will take this out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Any comments or questions for those that are joining us via Zoom? If you can please raise your hand, use the raise hand feature so we can recognize you and have you on mute. Okay, I see no hands raised. So at this time, then I will close the public hearing at 6:47, and I will bring it back to the council for council action if there's well, let me go with questions, and then if there's no questions, then we can move forward with council action. Any questions?
No.
Okay, seeing none, then we will all entertain a motion to waive, adopt, and ordinance read what
Waive, adopt, and read by title only.
waive, adopt, and read by title only, ordinance number 722.
I move to waive, adopt, and read by title only ordinance number 772. And
Second.
do I have to
Okay.
read the whole thing?
No, because it's been read already.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor, Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez, and a second by Councilmember Caldera. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fernando Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernando Ansaldo Sanchez,
Aye.
Yes.
Member Caldera.
Yes.
Okay, so motion passes unanimously. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for that. So we will move on then to our next item of business in our agenda. So we have resolutions number 6237, 6238, 6239, 6240, and 6241. Resolutions of the City Council of the City of Soledad approving preliminary annual engineers report and declaring the city's intention to levy and collect annual assessments for various districts for fiscal year 2025 and 2026, and setting a time and place for our public hearing. So I will turn this over to our assistant engineer. Yes, okay.
Hi, councilmembers, the staff, what you have for you is for the annual intent to levy assessment for the 5 assessment districts within Soledad. And also to preliminary accept the preliminary annual engineer report. Within the staff report, you can see the proposed budget for the amounts to be levied on each assessment. The important thing to note is that if had an annual increase of 3% just from inflation. We also have our assessment engineer here, so if you have any questions particular to the assessment reports or the engineer reports, feel free to ask them.
Okay. Thank you for the report. And I know this is an annual process that we undertake for all of our different assessment districts. And thank you for providing that table. So let me take it out first to our members of the public, and then I'll bring it back to the council for any comments or questions. Any member of the public have any questions or comments on resolution, on the staff report, for the various resolutions on the assessment districts? Okay, seeing none here in our chambers, let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Any members of the public that are joining us via Zoom, I'd like to make a comment on this item. And I do see a hand raised, so I see Jian Wu. Oh, that's it, okay.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Juan, for the quick presentation. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Jian Wu with DTA, and I'm here to help answer with any questions that you may have. So just want to add on a little bit more on top of what Juan has already been present. For fiscal year 25-26, the proposed special assessments follow the same approach as last year and as the previous years, with a 3% annual inflation adjustment. So as previous, the budget will be continued to fund the authorized public services based on the established guidelines for each of the assessment district. And here we are presenting the set of preliminary engineer's report and the resolution for the intent to levy this evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving us a little bit more context to the information. So is there anyone else in our public that is joining us via Zoom that I didn't acknowledge and would like to make a comment on this item? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Sorry, I have a bunch of tabs open here, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay. So I see no hands raised, and I will bring it back to our council for any questions first, and then we'll take action. Any questions for Juan? Okay, seeing none, then I just have a quick question on it seemed like one of the funds didn't have any proposed increase on that, and it stayed the same as last year, which is the Miravalle Orchard Landscaping. So the proposal, just so I can ensure that's correct, it's the proposed assessment with the 3% is a 610.58, but last year's was also 610.57.
Yes, it is correct. It's because that for certain services, budgeted services this year for that particular district, we don't need that much amount of money. So that's why when everything adds back up, it remains steady and approximately the same as last year's assessment.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, council. So with that, if we don't have any questions, then I'll entertain a motion to approve. Do we need to take them individually?
No, in this particular case, since this is just the preliminary step that we're taking to actually put these on the future agenda for consideration and so forth. So we can take them.
Okay, so we'll take them as a group, but this is to approve the levy and to collect assessments for various districts for fiscal year 2025-26 and setting a time and place for the public hearing. So I will entertain a motion.
I motion to levy and collect annual assessments for various districts for fiscal 2025-26 and setting a time and place for public hearing.
Okay, we don't have to read each one.
Do we have to read all the resolution?
No. So we'll just note that this is a single motion for resolution 6237, 6238, 6239, 6240, 6241. And I'll also just note for the record that with the adoption of this resolution, we will set the public hearing for the consideration of the adoption of the assessments for July 2nd, our July 2nd.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a second, Councilmember Caldera. If we can get a roll call vote, please. Can I get a roll call vote, please? Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Fernando Gonzalez Sanchez.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have a public hearing set for July 2nd. I just want to encourage anyone that lives within those assessment districts. Please join us if you have any questions or comments regarding the proposed assessment on our July 2nd City Council meeting. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item. It's business, which is resolution number 6242, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soledad authorizing the city manager to execute a second amended and restated affordable housing agreement between the City of Soledad and HMBY LP for parcel E. Okay, and we have a staff report, so I will turn it over to Beatriz Trujillo, our Economic Development Manager. Director. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Council members. So we're back to council today upon the direction of the City Council on May 21st to present a proposed FEMA plan for parcel E. This is a little bit live. We got some information last time, but I think it's important to have it in the forefront. So this is the project that we're talking about is Maribel parcel E. We also sometimes refer to it as Santa Clara because it's in Santa Clara Street. And this development is started as just one parcel. Throughout the development of the project, the developer sectioned out a portion of the parcel for multifamily housing, which is what you see highlighted in blue on the screen. That's still part of parcel, Santa Clara parcel E, but all of the other area that you see in gray, those are single family lots. So that's the project that we have in front of you today. This project was approved back in 2019. And the original requirement for affordable unit was 52 affordable units, 22 moderate income, which is the one that we want to talk about for the English plan. These units are for ownership opportunities, and then 28 low and very low income units. In 2023, there was an amendment to the Affordable Housing Agreement, which allowed the developer to partner with Eden Housing for the development of the multifamily affordable units. And instead of building 28, jointly, the developer and Eden Housing applied for a density bonus to get the count of units to 40. One of those units is going to be the manager unit, so we can have affordability restriction, but the other 39 too. And then this was the plan that the developer is presenting. This is the English plan that the developer wants to present with respect to the affordable housing agreement. So the original current agreement, what it is requiring from the developer is to build a total of 52 affordable units. And if we break it down by category, 24 of those units are to be moderate, 14 low, and 14 very low. The low and very low units are part of the multifamily section of the project, and they are restricted to 55 years. The moderate units right now do not have a restriction. They're only affordable at the time of the initial sale. The proposed plan is to build a total of 40 units. That includes 1 unit for moderate income, which will be restricted to 25 years. And then 20 low income units and 19 very low income units based on change from the previous one. And then this is the next slide. So in last council meeting, May 21st, the developer presented a English plan that was a land dedication. It's a little close to 16,000 square feet. And that's by Orchard Lane, that's parcel B, that's also owned by the same developer. And then $25,000 in lieu fee, and that was the difference between the total affordable units at the beginning of the affordable agreement that was 52. since they're only building 40, so it was $24,000 for every affordable unit that wasn't built. So that will get us to $300,000. That was what was discussed last council meeting. However, following direction from council indicated that we don't think that we can only accept the difference in the overall count of the affordable units, but that we need to be accounting for the moderate income units that are not gonna be part of this project. So, following council direction, we went back to the developer, and we discussed having an affordable, an in-lieu fee for every moderate income unit that wasn't produced, which is 23. And the developer, we went back and forth between $25,000 and $20,000, for each moderate income unit. And the developer argues that $20,000 plus the land dedication is a fair, in-lieu, amount compared on the other in-lieu amounts that we have in the area. So the same land dedication, plus, the $20,000 for 23 moderate income units. So that will be a total of $460,000. And then if we can go to the next slide, these are some of the in-lieu fees that I was able to find in the area. Not every jurisdiction has a set in-lieu fee. We're one of those jurisdictions that we currently don't have a set in-lieu fee. But we did do some research just to give a little bit of perspective. And Salinas, for these units, because there are smaller lots, we don't think that we are gonna exceed the 1,500 square feet. So Salinas is charging a fee per square feet, but for a unit that is 1,500 square feet, the amount that they will charge, and I think I have a typo there, I think it's 22,725. San Luis Obispo, they do a $25 for a square foot. So for something the same size, they will be charging 37,500. Watsonville and Marina, which are more on the same size as, well, I think we're a little bit more similar to Watsonville and Marina in the scheme of things. They have a flat rate depending if it's a single family dwelling unit that is detached or if it's a multi-family unit. So in this case, the fee that compares to the type of units that the developer is trying to develop is $25,909. And then Mountain View, they charge a percentage based on the sales price of the property. So for a unit that the sales price goes to $550,000, the in-lieu fee for that will be around $16,500. And again, the reason we're representing this in-lieu plan is following some of the regulations that we have in our municipal code. So our municipal code actually allows for the developer to request an in-lieu plan. In council can direct, if an in-lieu plan is approved, council can indicate where they want the funding to go. Based on our municipal code, it has to go back into a housing fund or a housing project. The financial impact at this time, the project or the in-lieu plan doesn't represent a direct impact to the general fund. However, whatever money was made from the in-lieu fees, it can be deposited into the affordable housing fund, and we can get further direction from council if they're interested in that. Sorry, let me just remaining the land for future use. I know we were piggybacking from the parcel B current plan, and if we can go back to the map. Yes, thank you. So currently the land dedication, it was meant to build two complexes that have 8 units each. That's the current plans that are submitted for parcel B that are under review. But if the land is dedicated to the city, the land can decide if that's the type of layout that we want, or if we want something different. Right now, the way that parcel B is presented is that these units will be for rent. But if the city takes control over the land, we can decide if we want to do an ownership opportunity. I know Councilmember Ansado last time indicated that maybe we can think about a different type of housing units that can be better suited for young professionals or for people who have a smaller family. That's something that can be a later discussion if the city was to own the land. The other piece is we were trying to find a similar property or similar square footage, a recent appraisal that we had. And we did have, we appraised a property that the city is interested in purchasing. This will be a later conversation, so we just wanted to see how much the property is. It's by Bosque Park. It has a home, but it has to be demolished. And the appraisal that we received last week for that property is between $290,000 and $300,000. The square footage for this property is 8,950 square feet. That one, like I mentioned, and I can distribute this to council. It does have a house, but it has to be demolished. So that's the cost of the land with a unit that will, instead of being an asset, it will be an added cost to the city we decided to purchase. So that was just to give you an idea of land value in the current time. I can pass this to if you want. So the size of the property is on page 3 on the first column. It's a little tricky to read some of this appraisal, but I can have it. And then with that, I know that many the developer is here, and I wanted to create some space for the developer, so she wanted to provide some comments. If you want to any comments.
I mainly would say I'm here for the discussion. So let's go by Mayor Velasquez, who last time asked that Lennar give a heads up to the city, or when they're going to release the first houses or first 23. I spoke with Lennar about that, and they're looking fine with that approach. So that's that checks that one off the list. But basically, I'm going to reserve any comments until we have more of a discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to also clarify that from the last discussion that we had, now that we had the affordable housing agreements attached, that I know that was negotiated under the first affordable housing agreement, the first time that we would have 5 weeks. Soledad residents would have we would have 5 weeks to be able to ensure that our residents had first rights, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to get into those units. So that is part of the negotiated portion of the affordable housing agreement. And that was done, again, I went back and that reminded me of those negotiations that we had, was really looking at the need of our residents and making sure that our residents had a first, that they had the opportunity to purchase those homes. So it is capped at 5 weeks, and then after it's open to the public. So thank you for checking in that he would be amenable to that, but it was also part of what was in our affordable housing agreement.
And then with that, if we want to open up to discussion, I think what we are presenting tonight is through the discussion with council is if council gives us direction to approve the any plan from the data for second amendment, or if council would like to modify aspects of the new plan to provide direction to staff, or reject the proposed new plan and provide an alternative. So with that, I would welcome a discussion on that.
Okay, so before I ask our council to have discussions or comments on this item, let me take it out to the public first so we can do the public comments, and I want to hear from the public. So any members of the public that are here with us in our chambers, and then I'll take it out to those that are with us on Zoom. So from those that are here in our chambers, anyone wants to make a public comment?
Hi, my name is Angelica and I'm a resident of Soledad. I'm here tonight because I care deeply about this community and I care about the people who are trying every day just to afford to live here. I would like to ask you all to refrain from taking action on the Maryville Parcel E proposal today. There are still way too many unanswered questions. This isn't the time to rush into something because it sounds good, especially when what's being negotiated now could set the tone for how the city handles other significant projects such as Melissa. HMDR has already agreed to build 24 moderate income units. That agreement wasn't a maybe, it was a commitment and something they had signed as approved by the city. They haven't shown any real reason as to why they can't fulfill that promise, and yet they're asking to back out of that responsibility and shift the project to the city. The truth is what they're offering in exchange, $20,000 per unit and 15,000 square foot parcel isn't enough to build those homes. It shouldn't be the city's job to figure out how to fill in the gaps. The city isn't a developer. The city shouldn't be expected to take on risks just because a private company wants to increase its profits. Additionally, the developer stands to gain significantly if the proposal is approved. If they're allowed to walk away from their affordable housing commitment, they will be able to sell or develop 24 additional market rate units. That's a huge financial benefit for them. That value needs to be part of this conversation, and we can't just ignore it as if it weren't happening. They've also made claims about land use efficiency and enhanced rental production, but honestly, those arguments fall flat. The city had already allocated 83 low-income units in the previous decision. That benefit has already been granted. Again, the commitment for moderate income housing is a separate obligation. It's not something that we should be able to swap out now just because it's inconvenient. On a personal note, I know what it's like to live here and feel the weight of how difficult it is to find a stable place to live. I've experienced it as a young professional myself. People in this community are struggling, as are those who want to build life here. So when developers make promises about affordable housing, it matters because it gives us hope. Therefore, we trust the city to make a decision that prioritizes the needs of its residents. I hope the city stands firm and either the developer fulfills the agreement they made, or if they want out, then the city should get something valuable in return, not just whatever the developer thinks is good enough. The city has the power here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for fighting for the people who live here and want to stay here. I urge you once more not to accept this proposal. Alternatively, I ask you to gather more information before making a decision. You have the authority to do this and an obligation to the residents and taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments?
I don't know if you wanted the developer to respond now or ask the question.
Let's wait till we have questions,
Okay.
and then we can, he would like to respond, he can respond.
Okay.
Okay, so let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom, and I do see a hand raised. So I know Dixie is here with Eden Housing. Dixie, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Dixie Baus, Director of Real Estate Development for Eden Housing. Mayor, I do apologize for not being able to be present in chambers to provide our testimony on this. We ask respectfully that you consider approving the amendment that's before you. We are making progress on the financing on the Lot E parcel, which contains the 40 homes that are low and very low income as part of this development. One of the things that is trying for us is making sure that we can keep the balls in the air, if you will. We have an application pending for 9% credits at this time. We don't know yet what the status of that will be. Those applications were submitted in late April. We also have an application pending with HCD for Joe Cerna funds, which would benefit the project tremendously as another way to try and get desperately needed soft funding for this. Right now, what we are concerned about is that if we are awarded tax credits, we are under the timeline of 180 days to close on the construction loan. Whether we like it or not, what we do know is that while we have a purchase and sell agreement, we can't close on the land until the underlying deed of trust is released by the development LP. And that, it's my understanding, is contingent upon what goes on with the townhomes. So I can talk much longer about the financing intricacies. I'm here available for questions, but we ask for your support and your approval of this amendment so that our project will not suffer a setback should we be awarded tax credits this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixie. And we wished you were here, but thank you for joining us via Zoom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other members of the public wish to make a comment on this item? Okay, I see no hands raised for this item. So I will close the public comment portion of this item, and then I will bring it to council for.
Not to interrupt, I didn't know if we had to read the letter that we received into the record.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, I just
sorry.
wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
acknowledge the written comments from the letter we received.
I have it. Oh, yeah. I have a copy as well. So we did receive, let me grab my.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can read it, that'd be great. I have it.
June 3rd, 2025, subject is Maryville Parcel B revisions to affordable housing plan support. Mayor Velasquez and City Council members, the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership supports the proposed amendments to the City of Sullivan affordable housing plan concerning the Maryville Parcel B project, which will help produce more affordable rental funds and generate annual fees to help meet additional housing goals. While we prefer to build out of inclusionary units, we support staff's recommendation to accept an in lieu fee of $460,000 for the 24 moderate units plus developable lot of 15,950. That could accommodate 12 to 16 affordable homes at another income level in the future. The overall subdivision includes the parcel for housing's proposed affordable rental development, which was originally 28 units, but through state density bonus can now be developed with 48 homes. We further support maximizing in lieu fee payments from developers wherever possible, but only after exhausting opportunities to improve build out of inclusionary homes on the site. In lieu fees should be set at a level that incentivizes on-site development. Such local governments have set in lieu fees of up to $50,000 per unit, even for moderate income units, which can be defensible in extraordinary high cost markets such as Monterey County. See a more detailed discussion here and then there's a link setting the in lieu fee inclusionary housing. Transferring small lots for affordable housing should not be the preferred option for local governments due to the complexities and higher per unit costs to develop and operate smaller rental for sale projects. As an example, a small lot is exceedingly difficult or even infeasible to develop as a traditional affordable rental housing site, which typically requires at least 40 units to achieve operational scale and to meet the debt service requirements. Also, state and federal housing programs are currently unfunded or are under threat for major cuts in the next few years, making the affordable home ownership project unrealistic at this time. We encourage the city to seek alternative methods for developing this future site, such as partnering with local nonprofits who specialize in small lot development, such as Habitat for Humanity or emerging community land trusts. The loss of moderate income units is deeply concerning since the city of Soledad and many local governments in our region have struggled to meet these goals in the RH&A cycle. We encourage the city to continue to evaluate ways to create more moderate income housing options. Taken as a whole, our policy paper, practical housing, policy increasing supply and affordability, recommendations will help the city achieve more middle income housing production. In addition to the recommendations, when it comes to build-to moderate income homeownership, some advocates and citizens were able to negotiate with market rate housing developers in order to help ensure local buyers have access to purchase new non-deed restricted homes. Developers have committed to working closely with local residents and the city on future sales of their single-family homes, including helping to pre-qualify buyers and communicate in advance of release dates for available homes. This provides an opportunity for local buyers to have a chance at purchasing new homes. Thank you for your consideration of our support and recommendations. Please contact our VP of Community Development, Bertha at MVP.biz with any questions or concerns. Sincerely, Tara Goraya.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for reading that into the record. Can I get my letter back? Okay. Thank you. So then let's, thank you. And I'll entertain I'll bring it back to the council, for, let's do, yes. Oh. Okay, so we'll go to, for public comments before we bring it back then to, the council. There is another hand raised, so thank you for noticing that, Darlene. So we do have John Farrell. John Farrell, if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of Landwatch Monterey County. I wanted to make a couple of simple points. First, the suggestion that the Eden Housing Project is somehow dependent on this was raised for the first time tonight. And the council has already made an amendment to allow the Eden Housing Project to go forward. And now we're being told that the developer is holding that project essentially hostage, that if he doesn't get further concessions, he's not going to allow that project to go forward. I think the developer should unconditionally release that parcel to Eden so they can proceed. This is, that's not the deal that was bargained for. The developer is attempting to basically get credit again for something that the city has already bargained for, which was the movement of the Eden Housing Project from 24 to 40 units and treating it as a standalone project. The second point I want to make is that if you read the MBEP letter, it says we recommend supporting this, but every single argument, every single point they make in the letter is that this is a bad deal. It says $50,000 is a more reasonable in lieu fee in a high cost jurisdiction like Monterey County. It says this project developing on that parcel to 12 to 16 units is not feasible because it's not large enough to attract financing and they'll be losing scale economies. There's actually nothing in the letter that supports accepting this proposal. And so it's questionable. I mean, MBEP lays out good reasons not to accept this. It doesn't lay out anything that really supports accepting it. And I think the developer has made a commitment when it entered into its first affordable housing agreement that it would build these 24 moderate rate units. And the city has the bargaining power here, as somebody pointed out earlier. There's no reason for you to make a concession. And if you do, I think you should ask the developer to open the books, see what the pro formas look like, see how much money the developer would be making if he had to follow through on his commitments, how much he's going to make if he doesn't have to follow through. And the difference, I think, should be the city's. So I recommend that you ask for more information and not move forward with this proposal this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before we close the public comment, any additional comments? Yes.
Blake Haga, the developer of the project. Mr. Farrow, I'm sorry that you were factually challenged on this. First off, we have to lose money by doing this in phase. So the price of
if you could just direct your comments to the council and not to the previous comment.
Sure. So I admit Mr. Council, Mr. Farrow's comments. we're actually challenged. We actually lose money, by doing the in-lieu fees. Because the way it works is that, home builders pay effectively, 25% of the expected, sales price for finished lots. So, with the removal of the moderate distinction, the sale price of the houses are going on average 50,000 times 23, and so that gives you about $1.15 million. Quarter of that, about what, 280,000. So we're going to make 280,000 more. We're paying 460,000 for in-lieu fees. That's a negative 180. So by Mr. Farrell's logic, the city would be paying us with 180,000. So that just doesn't work, right? So we're actually losing money by making this arrangement. So that needs to be clarified. We're not holding this project hostage. There's an economic reality to this. We have debt on this property, and the bank will not release the apartment parcel until we pay down that debt. We can't pay down that debt until we get financing to do the horizontal construction, which is the underground utilities, the roads, fixing the paths. We can't get that financing until we have a deal in place with the building. So it's something that's completely out of our control. We're not holding anything hostage. It's just the reality of the situation. So we'll clarify all that.
Thank you. Okay, so any public comments, additional public comments from people that have not spoken? Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public comment period for this, and then I will bring it back then to the council for any, well, at this point, we'll have comments and questions at the same time. So let me start, because I don't want to forget Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera.
Yes, can I go at the end?
Okay, so I'm gonna come back. I'll go at the end, but you'll come back before I do. Okay. Okay, so then I will start with Councilmember Caldera.
Well, given all the facts, I did receive a couple of calls from, unfortunately, they were not in text messages or anything like that to have some proof, but I mean, I did receive a couple of calls to go ahead and approve the project here. My question would be to Megan, is that something that we should be moving forward with?
Our recommendation of staff is to move forward because I think what we outlined in the report and looking at the totality of the deal, and when we looked at the financial when we looked at other jurisdictions, the proposed in lieu fee is in range. The one thing that I've been pretty clear about is the 24 units. One of the reasons why I think it does make sense to do this is the 24 units that would have been built under the original agreement are not deed restricted. They also don't have a resale restriction, so it doesn't add to our total number of affordable units. And I understand from Beatrice, and she could probably chime in, but with the new state law as it relates to our housing element, we would be able to count those units when they're first built, those 24 units, but as they're sold off, we lose any affordability. So we actually have to take them off of, like, we have to we gain some, but then every one that's resold, because there's no restriction, we lose that number in our RENA account. And maybe Beatrice could clarify that a bit.
Yes, part of the requirements for the housing element of the progress report for RENA is we have to state the type of unit that is being built, what affordability level, and the type of restriction that we have on it.
but we don't have a restriction, we can note it, this is the year that it was built, this is the year that it was, sold. But, when we come back the following, so if those units were to be built and sold this year, we can count for those on the RENA numbers. But we are not gonna have, we're not gonna be able to sustain that count for the following year if we don't have a restriction that we can fall back on. If we're, because part of the chart that we turn in every year, we have to say how long that unit is gonna be restricted for the type of restriction that is ensuring that the unit is gonna continue to be affordable. And then we also have to do a report for the affordable units that we have lost. So since we don't have a way to show that the unit will retain affordability, it will be a number that can be deducted throughout, through the same cycle, through the same RENA cycle. It can go up, but it can also come down.
Yeah, and I think, the reason why I think we have felt like this is a good deal is because we have the potential now to convert the money, the land in a way with council direction that would actually be, we would have the way of restricting those units, having a reset, like if we built new units on parcel B, those units could be deed restricted. They would add to the permanent pool, I guess you could say, of the affordable numbers that we're trying to achieve. And the one thing I did want to clarify too, for the record, as staff, we apologize about the understanding about the deed restriction on the entire parcel. That was something that, just for the record, the developer didn't disclose to us or say anything about it. It was when we were inquiring to find out what the status of the property transfer, we heard that from actually even housing that restriction was in place that was hampering the transfer of the property. And that's why, you know, there is something tied to the sale. So it wasn't an attempt on our part not to put that in the staff report. We literally didn't know until after, I think this week. So on Monday, it's time is, you know, going fast. So I did want to clarify that as well. But generally speaking, the land value is somewhere, you know, depending, I think the developer gave the land value of about 218,000 plus 460. So you can see that, you know, if you add that together, that's like 678. So that's kind of in line with some of the other jurisdictions we did take a look at. So for us, you know, when we kind of evaluated the totality of the project, the 24 units not being restricted and the land and the in lieu fee, we felt that it was fair.
Okay, so that was my question. To clarify that, just wanted to add that even if it was 24 units, if they were built in about a year or so, if they resold them, we would actually lose that list, right, of
They would
low income, moderate
they
income?
would not be restricted, so they
Yeah,
could
so they
sell
can sell, okay.
at market rate.
Mhm.
And then we would have to turn around and reflect that in our RENA count. So maybe, you know, maybe there will be people, I don't want to say all of them will flip. Maybe there'll be people that stay there for, you know, beyond our eight-year cycle. But I'm sure that there will be some sales. So 24 might be, you know, 18 at the end of the day, if we see some resales.
And we're able to secure affordability in a couple of different ways on the RENA board. It's just that for the site, some units are affordable by design, but this one, because they're a little bit larger than what it accounts for affordable by design, we fall in that upper position where it's hard to document affordability beyond the sales, the initial sales transaction. It's difficult to justify affordability after that.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
I have so many comments. I don't even know where to start. All right, but I will try. Okay, so I think for me, it's really difficult to say yes to this for like a number of reasons. I think some of them echo what Angelica pointed out too, is that we really have an issue of having affordable units, especially for our middle income folks. So for me right now, it's really difficult to want to say yes to something like this without having more information. I think the information that we're receiving way too close to making this decision, and we don't have the adequate time to like have a thoughtful discussion or have a thoughtful process in doing so. Like I still don't understand why it is that the buyer that you're working with views this as infeasible. And I don't know like how many folks you have already talked to, how many buyers have been in the conversation, and then whether or not the ability of being able to whatever is being additional profit from turning from moderate to market rate, how much that's going to be, whether that could come back to us, and if it can't come back to us, why not? I didn't hear about the issue about doing the transfer to Eden Housing until a couple hours before the meeting. So it's just a lot of information that we're receiving, and it makes it feel like we have to make a decision where we don't have the information that we need. So right now, I'm just not comfortable making that decision. And with the letter that we received with MBEP, that was confusing too, because they're kind of for it, but then they're talking about rental, but this isn't rental, this would be for sale. So that was confusing also. So I don't think I have enough facts. And then I appreciate the presentation and then kind of learning about in lieu fees, but like the cities that were listed, it just isn't comparable to Soledad, Salinas, San Luis Obispo, Marina, Mountain View. They all have more staffing, more revenues than the city of Soledad does. And while I appreciate those examples, we don't have the bandwidth to create or to develop ourselves. And while I appreciate the amount that is being offered and the land, the amount that's being offered wouldn't even be able to build on that land. It's not enough. So it's just stuff that we don't have the ability to do. And then if we even receive the land, how long is that going to take for us to actually build on it? Do we have a timeline in place once it's there? It's just a lot of questions that aren't being answered or aren't being like discussed right now. It makes it difficult. And then kind of going back again to losing the 23 moderate units, while I understand where you're coming from about we don't know if people are going to stay or not, I just can't use that. I can't justify that because it's kind of like saying, well, I'm not going to go to the store because what if someone buys all the apples before I get there? You know what I mean? So like, while I get it, I also don't get it at the end of the day, because at least if we have 23 and only 18 are kept, that's 18 more moderate units that we have that we wouldn't have had. Does that make sense? So I don't know. I know that was a lot at once, but I had a lot of comments.
I wasn't sure if you had any question. There were some questions in there, and the one I did want to respond to one question specifically about the city being the developer, if I could.
Yes, but I mean it more so as like, if we get a lot, like I know we have to go out and like figure it out, but that costs time and money, right? Like,
so one of the best tools that a city has with housing development is land. And the way that cities develop housing is we're not the developers, we're the facilitators. So we reach out to interested developers, and what we can offer, which is a premium for developers, is certainty, because acquiring or finding land is a challenge, especially in Soledad. And we can offer them at for an affordable housing developer, we can offer the land for free. And that's a big thing, because that cuts the cost of having building housing, having land control, and having land available is a great motivator. And I do know that we have been doing a lot of background work with 540 Gavilon. We've actually talked to I know that's another parcel that we have hoping to build housing development. So there is a lot of interest, and I think because we don't have a lot of land in Soledad, there is the interest there. I did also happen to talk to someone who called me about these two parcels, these 15,000, and was interested in actually finding out when if we would get control of it, how would he inquire about doing a development? And they're doing some work in Marina, and they talked about a project that they have that's a 5-unit complex in the village that would be kind of this, I think you mentioned the 3-story option. And so he said that they were doing something like that. So there is interest, but we're not the developers. We wouldn't build it. We wouldn't try to finance it. We would facilitate that. And, like, for example, Eden is, doing all the work to submit the applications, and we're just supporting on that. And I don't know, Beatrice, I feel like
No, that's helpful. No, I think you had another question, and I don't know if you want the developer to explain, if you reach out to other buyers, if that's something that you want the developer to answer.
Sure.
Okay, so we have had contact with maybe a dozen builders. And when we were talking about 104 houses, it's a large scale. You don't want just a contractor to show up and start building houses. That's to be somebody who can produce. We have found that there are 3 total builders who have some interest in Soledad right now. One of them is Lennar, who we're planning on selling to. The other's Legacy Homes, who you're familiar with, I'm sure. And then the recent builders in town. And then TrueMark, which has been building in Marina, they showed some lukewarm interest in coming here. But Lennar was by far the most aggressive and most enthusiastic about this project. I would say between Lennar and Legacy Homes, both of them came with the same concerns about having to build at 24 moderate rates, and not just building them, but selling them. The process of finding qualified buyers for those 24 houses. And so that, personally, I pushed back quite a bit. I was like, I mean, it can't be that bad, right? And this Soledad's going to have enough moderate rate buyers. They're going to be there. They didn't want to take that chance. It's not part of their model. It's not part of how they didn't want a quarter of the house they built to have to go through an additional process, which is it is more cumbersome than just straight selling a house on the open market. So, and I think we discussed this last time. I proposed to both Lennar and Legacy, maybe we keep those 24 lots and we'll figure out how to get them built. Like we could hire like Alloy Construction or Sonio Construction, which are, they're decent builders. This isn't necessarily their forte, though. They build 104 houses. But if they could do 24, hey, maybe that works out. The city's got some moderate rates. The buyers didn't go for that because then you would have multiple construction crews going at the same time, and that just gets clustered, and there's a liability issue with that and whatnot. So they just wanted to go for that as well. I really tried. So again, it comes down to being able to sell the project to a builder. You don't want us to go right now and build 104 houses. We're developers. We go through the entitlement process, the planning process. We're not the ones who want to build the house. You want someone that can know how to do it. Lennar saying we cannot handle 24 moderate rates. That's not in our model. Then we're stuck, and those houses don't get built at all. That's what it comes down to.
Okay. Let me move on to Councilwoman Banuelos.
Thank you. Beatriz, thank you so much that you are like going back and forth with everything, and then the whole detail of your presentation. And also, in comparison with the property on Monterey Street, giving us those examples and giving us, the comparison with the other cities, because I believe, with Ansaldo Sanchez mentioned, like we're small, but we're big. Does that make sense? We're small, but we're big, but I think we're just up we're like unique. We're like, up, moving forward, we're up there from South County. And I thank you that you compared those to the other cities, but with the population. But I appreciate it because you see Soledad in that perspective, like, in comparison of the other cities. And I appreciate that.
Clarify the reason why I
Yeah.
want to go over fees is because similar to our situation, they don't have a standard in fee. We do have a plan as part of our housing element
Mhm.
to have a standard in fee. But other jurisdictions around Soledad, I couldn't find any that truly compared, so I was trying to look for the closest ones, and that's the more updated ones, and those were the ones that I was able to find. But I looked to CD, to Greenfield, Gonzalez, I wasn't able to find, and they haven't established their fees yet.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that too. I appreciate the in lieu of fees comparison. My question is, if we do move forward, I want to echo what, Mayor Velasquez has mentioned, we want to make sure that our residents have that first priority, have that first priority because, they're going to invest. They're going to invest. They're going to stay here in Soledad. We don't know that they're going to stay here after 10 years. We don't know. It's just like, us preparing for the general plan. I have to see it that way because yes, we're looking at it now, but we're investing in the future. I'm very hopeful that, her comments, it's big too. And, she's planning to stay here. But again, life happens, so whether that we stay here in the city of Soledad, I want to make sure that we make sure that our residents have that first priority, as, having that option as being a first time homeowner.
And through the chair, if I may, I know that the MBEP letter
Yes.
Reference what happened in Salinas. I was at the table there doing that. So I know that we can work with the housing builder to similarly have that type of approach because we were at the table developing the marketing plan.
Mhm.
And so I think what we can offer that Salinas didn't have at the time that we were having that conversation is, as you know, this council was really forward thinking and allocating $300,000 of CDBG funds for our down payment assistance program. And we have a program that we've established and that we're also going to be seeking additional funding. So that is another incentive for the housing builder to partner with us because we'll have assistance that we can offer to home buyers.
Yeah, actually, when Legacy was about to wrap up the project, they asked me if I knew of any other developers who wanted to have some land available because they really like working in this area. They really like working with Soledad. We like their product. Also, they respect their own said that they produce really good quality housing. So I pointed in the direction of Mr. Aga, and they told me that. But what holding them back was the affordable housing requirement. And I told them, but you just did great. Like you just saw that you did great. But they were under the impression that those units sat for a year. And that year that they were seeding is because the city didn't really have the capacity to do the marketing plan. One of the first things that I did when I started with the city as a housing analyst was the affordable housing workshops in March and in April. And I don't want to give myself or ourselves too much credit because they were already marketing, but in April, they had already over 20 requests for this affordable housing unit. People just didn't know how to get started and then you have the bilingual workshop. So I think that we are intentional when we provide this information to our community. I'm also trying to seek more services for financial literacy so that we're getting the people ready for this type of purchases. So I think we're intentional on the type of services that we want to provide to get people to be homeowners. But yeah, even for Legacy that they had a good experience with competing, that restriction for them only that one.
Wow. So one other question, I'm sorry. One other question is, how would I be able to explain it to our residents in this manner? And I kind of dumb it down to me so that way I can explain it to them. Because, everything here is just at a surface and a lot of our residents are gonna question it. And of course, we have a lot of emotions going on, but if you can explain it and dumb it down to me so that way I can help them understand, what the process is and why we're gonna do this.
I think one of the biggest things is, even though we can create a lot of programs, and I think council has put a lot of time and resources behind creating programs like the First Time Mobile program, support for small businesses. If we don't have the housing supply that is needed, it's really hard to even work with managing rental costs. So one of the things that we can explain to residents is it's as with anything else, right? If we don't have supply, the prices are really hard to control, even when there are laws that are helping us manage some of those issues. If we get on the way of supply, we're preventing development. And the longer that we wait for this, we're also competing with Salinas and their future growth area. So we're in another jurisdiction, and I think we have a lot to offer. But for a builder, a home builder that is just thinking about profit, they may be more interested in a bigger subdivision in other areas that are about to start developing. So thinking about the supply, also thinking about the type of units that they're building, that even though you wouldn't have a restriction, there are smaller lot units. When we were going through the qualifying process for like that we had several people that they thought they qualified for a moderate income, they had savings, but they didn't, and they only exceeded the income limit for like 10,000, 12,000. But those will be the candidates for this type of units that are still not as high in price as larger units. And these are people that were ready last year to make a purchase. So I think explaining some of that, and it's 24 units plus also the 40 units for low and very low income. I think a lot of times our residents, because they're very eager to be a homeowner, they think that even when you are making a very small wage and low and very low income, that you can afford to be a homeowner, and explaining that we want to get them there, but that's probably not the time. They need to work with the income before they can successfully be a homeowner, because we want them to be successful. We don't want them to just purchase a unit and use it and then damage their credit. So I think explaining that too, that we also want to produce quality rental housing so that people eventually can move into ownership. We need to offer stepping stones for people to go up the economic ladder, and it goes hand in hand with having both options, moderate income, but also low income.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera, you ready?
Yes, thank you. I want to start by thanking Beatriz and everybody involved in this project. Also, I want to thank the I don't remember the name of the person that made the comment, for her comments, and for the two people that call in. I think that this is very it's a very difficult decision to make, because of precisely what the council member Bañuelos said, that what are we gonna say if we don't approve? What are we gonna say if we approve? There are going to be questions, so we will have questions whether we approve it or not. So I think that it is important that we consider all the information that we have and that information that we don't have, because we don't participate in the actual project as managing or negotiating the parts. We don't have all the information really, but we have the information that our staff is providing us, and other information that we can research. But we also have to consider that we are here to think about our community. And our community is people that can pay market rate, people that can pay middle income, people that can only pay low income, and people that can only pay very low income. And we have to find the middle ground so that we can help that community, not focusing on one thing. I know that is difficult because we're not gonna have 24 home to middle income residents if we approve this, and if we don't approve it, we're gonna miss also. We're not gonna have 24 housing for low and very low income. So the decision is tough, because in one way it's a middle income, and the other one is a very low and low. So we have to go back to the numbers. What we have in the community. We've been talking about our community having an average income of $60,000, and up to 4 or 5 families getting together to buy in a house. So we are in a critical situation, not only because our residents have a mid-income of $60,000, but because we are living in a very volatile time, especially in the next 4 years. If we don't approve this, how long before we have the opportunity to offer those houses? 4 years, and that is counting the tariffs don't increase in the wood and other materials that are gonna increase a lot more the houses. So we are in a very difficult situation right now, and we have to think not only for one side of our community, but for all of them. And I think I am inclined, after reviewing everything and listening to all the pros and cons, I am inclined to support it, because we have to think about our community in general, and think about it. The way that we can explain it is, if we approve it, we're not gonna have 24 houses for middle income families. But if we don't approve it, we're not gonna have 24 houses for very low and low income families. So it is, but the work, we have done the work so far. Let's move on. Let's approve this and offer what we have to our community. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Cabrera. Mayor
Point of
Pro Tem Cabrera.
information, I'm a little confused. So if we don't approve the in lieu fees, we're losing the low income housing?
Can we get clarification on that? Because I don't think that's on the table, and that shouldn't be on the table. So I want to make sure that we as a council understand. So before we start getting pulled into difficult situations and that we're backed up against the wall, I'm not comfortable there. So we need direction. So thank you, because I think that was my direction to our attorney is why would the owner HMB, why not be held accountable to fulfilling the First Amendment that included the Eden housing development, the transfer of the land? That's not contingent upon the in lieu fees, because the in lieu fees were never part of the first or the original or the First Amendment. So why is that on the table?
As best as I can tell, what we've been told is that for financing purposes, and you heard the representative from Eden Housing saying that they're in the process of applying for their credits and so forth, and that they would then have to be ready to take action within 180 days of actually receiving those if they're granted. So there's many moving parts, and unfortunately, the moving part that's involved with the low and very low housing is now somewhat dependent on the ability to handle this issue that we're dealing with right now, or that you have before you on the moderate income home. So they're related. We don't lose them in terms of paper, right? So if this doesn't move forward this evening and you don't approve the Second Amendment, we'll still have the First Amendment in place. And the First Amendment says you will transfer the property to Eden Housing and so forth and so on, right? But if the developer decides that financially this doesn't pencil out, they won't move forward with the project.
Okay.
They won't be obligated to do anything.
So just to be clear.
I apologize if I misrepresented that information. It's not listed that the unit is altering the timeline for those 40 units. So Eden Housing wasn't in fact trying to secure funding, but their funding also has a timeline. And if they were to get the funding, which for one of the grants, they feel very strong about that one. So they still have to comply with the timing of the grant money that they receive. If they're not able to be the owner and to start construction within a certain period of time after receiving funding, then they're not able to benefit from that. There is still, Eden is committed to staying in that community. We spoke to Dixie and she's committed to
having a long relationship with the city of Soledad and sticking around and trying to make not just this project, but they're interested in having other projects around the city. It's just that we are altering the timeline and that can push back the project.
Okay, so just to clarify, just to make sure that the council understands that it's not losing the 40 units. That's not what's on the table. There's a timeline, and obviously, the conversation for tonight is the in lieu fees, and that's incumbent upon the council to choose whether we want to support that or not. But that is not, I mean, the developer has to then choose what he wants to do if the council does not approve that. But it doesn't mean that we're losing the 40. So I just want to make sure, because let me just tell you, like on my end, there's insufficient information, because even if you're telling me that they're moving forward, that the contract that we executed, or the amendment, was in 2023. And I know we had talked about the TCAC, the conversation, and I haven't spoken, so if I can just kind of speak some of my comments, or do we want to finish?
I think I do want to be clear on this question. I don't think it's maybe for Beatrice or I to explain, but maybe the developer can explain how these are linked together, because I don't, you know, I think Mike explained that the agreement stays in place, but if he could just quickly respond to the explanation of the how the financing is working.
Oh, yeah, so again, so we have a loan on the property. It encumbers the entire 8.55 acres, right? It's the 1 acre parcel that is with the affordable apartments. The bank will not release that parcel until they're paid off. And so we're stuck with that. So the loan, it's an old loan. It's before, you know, it's before we ever approached the housing subcommittee about, you know, on the first amendment. So that sort of grandfathered in this whole process. Then, you know, this was not something I was hiding or anything like that. I was asked about it again, you know, because, you know, just a couple days ago, I think. And I said, well, I think about that as being part of this process. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot transfer that parcel to Eden until the loan is removed. And that's the bank's policy. They're not giving up their collateral until they get paid. But so we're in a position where we need the financing, and we have 3 offers right now to get the financing to pay off the bank and then do all that horizontal construction. That's the underground utilities, the roads, and the, you know, creating the paths for each lot. So if this goes forward, Lennar is happy. We get the financing. We start that work, and we pay off the banks, and that immediately releases the apartment parcel to Eden. So,
okay.
Again, it's a domino effect.
Well,
we wanted to create. It's just this is the kind of situation that unfolded.
Well, let me just thank you for that. And so I just want to make sure that, again, in our conversations with the council tonight, to be able to say then it's contingent, but obviously it may not be, right? I mean, I think for me, and I'm hearing what has been said in terms of the transfer to Eden, there is an amendment number 1 that requires the developer to do that. So I think under that amendment, under that affordable housing agreement amendment number 1 that every council member received, there is language in regards to the transfer of the property. So the developer is still accountable, whether we approve the in lieu fees or not, to move forward with transferring the property to, or holding that bargain. And so, I mean, I get it that there was, you know, different loans and whatnot, but that's not the city's responsibility to engage. Then you're a developer. That's investment decisions that are made. And so I think for me, and I just want to say this because I want to remind the council as well as our community that these lots were left over from 25 years ago. So it's not a new development. When the developments were done 25 years ago, when all of the single family homes were developed, the subdivisions, there was no affordable housing completed. So all of the units that were built, all of the gains were the sale of the land and the transfer to a developer that built all of those units. So there was already investments and there was already gains that were provided from this land, from this specific land that was left 20 years ago. So for me, I'm having a hard time because although I'm hearing some of the comments from the council members, but I think we want to remember that these units were supposed to be built 20 years ago. And they have not been built because they were left over from what the subdivision was built, right? So we should have had housing 20 some years ago to be able to ensure that our needs were met here in our city. And so now we're entering into looking at the sale of this land. And I mean, according to some of the records, it's being, you know, offered for $8.5 million. That's a lot of money.
I don't want to interrupt you, but let me know if it's okay to further comment.
Well, let me just finish with my comments because I think I want to make sure that I also look at when we talk about that people are, you know, people are coming, that there's other opportunities that was said about different developments that are going to be developed other places. There's a lot of people that are coming from Salinas. There's a lot of people that are coming from Marina. There's a lot of people that are coming from Seaside to our city because the homes are still affordable here. And so I want to make sure as we're talking about, you know, the homes and the units and what we're developing, that one of the intentions, and I sat in the first subcommittee for the affordable housing agreement for this project, and I fought hard for those affordable units to be part of the conversation. The moderate units that were included in here that now are up for debate. We fought hard to ensure that although, you know, they don't have the restrictions, and I agree that it wasn't probably, you know, the best scenario, but we negotiated that with the owner to be able to say, look, if we commit that you're going to be able to build these units at 25 instead of doing more of the deep affordable, then, you know, we want you to honor that. And so that was the commitment. And we really focused on community residents from Soledad, that they would have 5 weeks to be able to, once the units were released, that's in the agreement, that our residents and people that worked in the city would have the priority to ensure that they were here. Because even back then, we were focused on making sure that even though they don't have the restrictions, that we had those moderate units, because that missing middle is something that's been missing since not just 2 years ago. It was missing since we created that agreement. And that's the reason why it was in there. If you review the language in the agreement, we also included the school district because we knew that they needed employee housing as much as we needed housing for our workforce. So that was part of the conversation. The developer engaged in this contract because he was going to honor that and because it was, you know, feasible at that time. And if it doesn't pencil out now, for me, is I'm in agreement with Councilmember Ansaldo. I don't have enough information to tell me that this is not feasible, that there is no other alternatives, that what's being presented to us is the only alternative. And we have to be, now we're backed up into a wall to be able to approve this without any further information. So I want to request additional information in terms of what's the financial feasibility analysis that was done or conducted. Is there like a bird in here?
It's outside.
Oh.
Wow. I think it is.
I'm not comfortable moving forward because I don't have enough information what's presented to us today about the finance piece. I saw the letter from MBEB and they say it's, you know, we can go up to 50. We talked about that last time, the 575, and that, you know, why can't we look at, you know, other numbers if that the market will support that because of our high cost area? Then why are we not looking at different financial alternatives? So for me is, you know, I want to see a financial feasibility analysis showing what's a surplus and what's a deficit, and what is a reasonable fee that really we can absorb and that we can work with the developer to ensure that we can move this forward. And also for me, and I know I said it last time, is doing a analysis with a third party that is not an unbiased position. So we get an unbiased opinion in terms of, yes, this is feasible. There are no other alternatives, and this doesn't work for the market conditions that you have right now. I just, you know, and I want to go back and also take a look at the report that we have in terms of, Beatriz, and you mentioned it, in terms of the RENA numbers in the annual progress report, because we just had this, you know, you presented this to us in last year, right? And when we look at what we did in terms of creating moderate income housing, obviously we know we didn't, you know, we're non-compliance in the very low and low, but understanding that those are difficult to build. But even if I look at the cycle in 2020, in the fifth cycle of RENA, which is from 2015 to 2020, in 2015, there's zero. In 2016, we built zero. 2017, we built zero. 2018, we built zero. 2019, we built zero. 2020, we built zero. 2021, we built 2. And in 2022, there was 41 that were captured under that affordability for 43. And so we, you know, looking at the numbers and what we built and above moderate units, because now we're debating, we're going to build more market rate units, right? Because that's the new fee is going to allow the developer to continue to build the market rate units. The city is going to absorb the risk to be able now to build those moderate units that are restricted. And so we absorb the liability and the risk. But in 2025, we built 3 units under above moderate, 2016, 83, 2017, 79, 2018, 131, 2019, 60, 2020, 12, 2021, 21, 2022, 149, with a total of 538, when our allocation was only 80. So I just want to make a point that we need those moderate income units. And that is the reason why when we negotiated the affordable housing agreement, there was extensive discussion on those moderate income units. And yes, it's only 24, but it's 24 families that now have the opportunity to be able to have generational wealth. And for us not to think, well, what we're getting is less than an acre, and what are we going to be able to build there? And if we convert it into rental units, and we lose that opportunity to be able to support families that I do believe that we have families in Soledad that would benefit from that. And I'll pause in my comments there because I need more information and I'm not ready to move forward.
One of the things that I just wanted to maybe ask DC, because I know when we were having conversations with Diego around some of the applications that they submitted, important factor on the timeline is the tax credit. I forget the term, maybe there's the underlying depending on the tax credit. But they need to have some funding that they have already allocated for the project in order for them to have enough funds. They need to have enough funding committed to the project in order for them to have enough funds to be eligible for the tax credit funding. In the recent years, that has increased drastically. Before it used to be 700,000, maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. And now when we were talking to Diego, he said it's more than $13 million that they need to have already secured for the funding. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dixie, I may be mistaken, but one of the things when we're thinking about the timeline for affordable housing, especially for low and very low, is how this construction cost is tied off from just a couple of years difference. Megan and I were hoping that maybe we can have we were trying to be creative when they were applying for some funding to see if we can have some type of match. But the type of match that we can come up with, it's not enough for the type of match that they need to be competitive for tax credit. And they're doing their best that they can to secure other sources of funding, but it's just that the amount keeps on increasing.
The one thing I will say is staff endeavors always to provide as much information, and we did go to council 2 weeks ago to, you know, get the direction, and I did repeat the direction, and maybe I mischaracterized it, but I kind of understand that council was generally okay with the in lieu discussion, or was open to in lieu, and we were really kind of tasked with looking at the I guess recommendation of 20,000 versus 25,000 per unit. And so that's what we understood our task was. And that's when we went and pulled the information, looked at, is this a reasonable in lieu proposal? And based on what we, again, researched, that's why we came back with the recommendation of 20,000, and then I think we put in the alternative up, also modify that in lieu fee. We weren't aware of other information needs. We would have provided it into the staff report, but that's when we did come for that direction. So I just want to make sure whatever happens tonight, we have clarity, because as it stands, I think the reason we push forward with this timeline is because the agreement that the developer has ends and on the 20th, I believe. And so that after that, his purchase and sales agreement would, maybe they'll extend it, maybe they won't, but would not. We're rushing on that timeline.
We're trying to avoid an over 20-year wait, because yes, we have a document that the developer is subject to, but we don't want opportunities to be missed and be waiting again 10 years, 5 years. We don't want these projects to take backseats as an unintended consequence.
And I just want to comment on that, because I don't think that we've taken any back seats on the comments. I think this council has been very aggressive in terms of supporting moving forward with housing, looking at alternatives, making sure that our housing element was really true to what we were going to do and that we had capacity to do. And I really thank Beatriz and staff, because I know you guys have been working hard for it. For me, it's looking at, is this the best deal that we can get right now? Is this a deal that we want to enter? When we already had the developer, there was already a provision, there was already an amendment that was granted. And, coming back to the table, it makes it seem like we're the bad guys, because now we're on this side of the table trying to figure out, that we defer the 23 affordable housing units, or the moderate units, or now come to the table that we may, there's another 40 units also potentially at risk. So to your point, Megan, I think we have to be clear, and you're right, but I think that, at least for me, because I had my notes from last time, that I looked at the 575 calculation and we said up to that number to come back. You came back with the 480, which was, what was discussed last time in terms of that's not feasible, that's not reasonable. Well, show us why that's not reasonable. And if the developer has a, the sales agreement, purchase sales agreement, is there there's obviously a termination clause, but have they exhausted all of their options? Can they, go beyond that? And I guess for me, we're rushed now because there's all these other things that we also weren't aware of. And so I think for me to make an informed decision without understanding the other timelines, and even to Dixie's project and to the project that we have for Eden Housing is, we have a 5-year within that amendment, that if within 5 years that property doesn't come to fruition, then the property comes back to the city, because we didn't want to lose that and because we know the complexities of the project. So I think council has been really thoughtful in terms of how do we support and move projects forward, but we're not going to move forward on some of the affordability and moderate income or other units that we're looking at when we're deferring contracts that we had entered that were going to get us to that point.
The 5 years for Eden Housing is after the property has been transferred to them. So the time that's going to start counting until the property has been fully transferred to Eden Housing.
Okay, thank you for that. So I guess my last comment on the Eden Housing is because that was something that came up for us new as well as council. And I don't know about the rest of the council, but I don't have enough information. So you know, I know that when we had the discussion about making sure that we understood the timelines under the amendment, that there was, we knew because I was part of the committee at that time, understood that Eden was going to submit for the TCAT credit application. And there was a timeline, right, that we had of when we thought this was going to come to fruition and all of everything else. So I want to see, you know, a timeline from the Eden Valley, the Eden project, to be able to say, what is the timeline? Where are we at now? And even if you get the TCAT credits, you guys are telling us there's 121 days or to engage. Well, let me see the timeline and the pro forma, and let me see what is needed, right? So we know, hey, this is a timeline. This is where we're at already with submitting the application. This is how much funds have been secured. And these are the other elements that we need for the project to move forward in order to make an informed decision, instead of a decision being based off of fear because we're going to lose 40 units. I just don't feel comfortable that now it's fear instead of informed.
To the chair, Megan, can you elaborate our discussion from the last meeting in regards to the 25,000 versus 20,000?
I did have a comment before she did.
There's a comment. So let me go back so we can acknowledge each one properly. So Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
I kind of want to go back to when we had somebody do a public comment. I'm not going to use the word hostage because I feel like it's not a nice word to use, but I do feel like then our decision or Eden moving forward is contingent on this in lieu fee then, right? Because if we're not wanting to do an in lieu fee, then that means that you're not able to pay off the loan. So then it is contingent on that decision, right?
I don't think we should answer that, but I think it's best if the developer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So effectively, yes. But so this is a problem solving exercise. How do we get these houses built? How do we get, parcel B built? If we, I'm purely in a problem solving mode right now, right? And my job is to get these projects planned and find builders. That's what I do all day. I'm pretty good at it. I've great relationships with national home builders, regional home builders. And we can have more at length discussions about this. This is the only way I see moving forward, practically speaking, to actually get these houses built. That's what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, are the houses getting built or are they not? Or the apartments getting built or are they not? So that's where we're going.
And then I have a follow-up question for you. How did we go from 24 to 1? Was there a negotiation to do maybe 10, 12 as opposed to 24? Or is that for you?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think it's
okay.
better for it wasn't his suggestion. So the subcommittee, which actually did recommend moving it forward, when we originally discussed it with the subcommittee, we were looking at parcel B and this part in Santa Clara together, and they were looking at a arrangement where they would look at all of the affordable housing requirements in totality. So when we did all of the total units of parcel B and Santa Clara, they were short one moderate unit. So we discussed putting that one moderate unit on the Santa Clara parcel, and that the rest would be built in parcel B. That was kind of the proposal with some in lieu fee payment. So basically, we took that same proposal, and instead of doing the swap of lands or calculating the total, we said, no, we want you to still build that unit, because at least we would have one unit that would be built in that development, because they agreed. Like I'm not really explaining very well, but I think Beatrice I think it was 67 that we had to build between the two, and they were offering 66 in lieu and with development, and they were shy of one. So we said, you need to build that one. and we just carried it over because at least it's one unit that gets built in that, in the Santa Clara development. And at the end, they're actually having to pay more in lieu fee with this proposal because I think in the original proposal that went to the subcommittee was open to giving them credit for overbuilding the 40 units. But in this proposal now, they won't get that extra credit. They'll have to provide the units and parcel B, and will be getting the land and in lieu fee. Beatrice probably can explain it better.
Part of the reason why we did that, so when we went to the system, we presented this more like a swap of units that overbuilt of low and very low to account for the requirements that they have in parcel B. But as we were thinking it through, Megan, Mike, and myself, we thought that a project that hasn't been entitled like parcel B, it's really hard to hold the developer accountable to that project, that even though he's making a lot of progress and he's almost done with all of the necessary steps to get the project entitled, really how do we make sure that this requirement is imposed to parcel B? And that's when we said like, well, maybe that's not a way to do it. Maybe we need to clean this proposal out before we take it to council and leave that direction from the subcommittee that they were amenable to this type of agreement. But we needed to clean it up in order to have the required legal documentation to make sure that the plan was actually going to carry out. And that's when we moved into that in the plan proposal with the idea that was presented to the subcommittee. And now we decided that really, Eden Housing was proactive about going for the density bonus. The developer, before thinking about involving, Eden Housing, they had already thought about doing a density bonus for 35 units. So that was something that they had already thought about, but jointly, because he's still the owner, they applied for the density bonus that got into 40 units. But then we figure, well, that's actually for our benefit. That's something that Eden Housing is spearheading. We will continue with the idea of the in for the moderate income units and then the land education from parcel. My train of thought with the last council meeting, when we presented this idea, that developer was still trying to gain some credit for the 11 units that he overbuilt for the low and very low income, and he was proposing $25,000 for 12 units. 12 units, and that was a total of $300,000. That was the initial proposal on the 21st, May 21st. Council direction said, no, we're not interested in giving you credit for the 12 units of affordable housing that you are, the total of affordable housing that you're in building. We're interested on you doing it in return for the moderate income housing that you are not building. And that's how we went from 12 to now 23 and $20,000. I don't know if I made it more confusing.
So, but the one, I over-explained, but the bottom line is the one unit was a holdover from the subcommittee proposal, and we didn't want to change what the subcommittee had recommended approval for too much, so we told them you still need to build that one unit on site.
Last we learned that Eden Housing, even though they're building 40 units, one of them is not bid restricted because it's the caretaker unit, the manager unit. So we figured, okay, the one that we had already negotiated will add up to the 40 units. It's that proposed, if that's what the information that we have presented to council for the sort of.
So I have a comment. Do you have?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, and thank you, Lay, and I just want, I know it's not an easy discussion, so I just want to say again, thank you to staff, because I know that we've been doing a lot of strides on the low and very low income, because we have that Gavilan unit that I know that we're working towards, and we acquired another for, even though it's one townhome, but it's for our workforce. So I just want to make sure that our community understands that we have been moving forward with providing housing and looking at solutions. To Lay's point, right? We're also about looking at solutions, but it's solutions that really work on both ends. So if there's a way that we can arrive to be able to say what is in the benefit of the city and our residents, and what is, and what is also beneficial to the developer, then I'm open to hearing that. But I think for this conversation and what I see before me, the city, it's not. And so I guess for me, my analogy is there's a loan now that needs to be paid off. But why is that our issue and our obligation? The developer entered into that loan at his risk, knowing what obligations he had and commitments he had under these projects. So if I go to the bank and I ask for a loan and I get, a 5 million or whatever it is, I'm expected to pay that back. I know my obligations, and if I get a 5 million loan, then I should know that, at some point I'm going to have enough money to be able to, repay that money back. And so I guess for me, I'm just, I don't think that in terms of the obligation and the tie back to the Eden Housing Project we're here now trying to resolve that issue, but that's not our issue to resolve. That's a developer's issue to resolve. How are you going to get the finances to be able to pay that, to make sure that we continue to honor the commitment that was made to be able to, we amended the agreement and to be able to move forward with the Eden Housing Project and to transfer that land. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, and that it's not that becomes something that we have to absorb as a city. We understand that we have a commitment to make as well, but I'm interested also in entering into deals that are feasible for us. And so, if we move forward and there's an analysis that's done, a financial feasibility analysis that shows us these are the alternatives or these are not. Maybe there is no alternatives. And maybe, maybe there isn't, in terms of the financing and, the surplus, or maybe there is nothing, right? And we can go back and say, yeah, that's fair, what we're getting. But I just don't feel at this time that I have enough information given to be able to say, and I think I requested that last time because I remember I was clear in terms of I wanted some financial feasibility to be able to understand it, and I didn't see anything. I don't know if in the negotiations you guys looked at the financials to be able to look at, this doesn't pencil out and this is why it doesn't pencil out. And I understand the loan, but that loan is not our problem.
So I think what we understood was the direction was to look at the in lieu fee in relation to, we did research on how you set an in lieu fee, and it's really based on looking at what the difference is between what the market rate and the moderate unit is. And in some jurisdictions, like we looked at Santa Barbara, for example, where the difference between market rate, you're paying well over $1 million for a home, and moderate is there's a huge differential. Those in lieu fees are higher, and in our market, there's a closer differential between market and moderate. So we did all sorts of analysis and looked, and that's where we kind of looked at the deal to see, is that a reasonable in lieu fee based on our kind of market. And we had a more recent example with Las Viviendas, so we were pretty knowledgeable about that. So maybe we misunderstood that's what we understood was our homework, and that is what we put in the report, and that's what we are prepared to talk about. If you wanted information about any information about the developers' costs, and that I'm sure he could answer, but that is oftentimes proprietary information that we don't want to share in a public document because they're in negotiations with a builder. But I'm sure he could share if there was some thing that we didn't provide that you need information on. I'm sure he would be willing to share any details. The only other thing that might be of use is I heard there was a question about timing. I don't know if there's any information about the timing of the purchase and sales agreement that might be also useful for council. Maybe Leith could answer that.
Point of information.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, so and I think that this is a question for Megan. Could you what are we voting right here? What are we approving here? Because if I remember correctly, the directions to staff was to negotiate some money for, instead of the 12 units, it was to negotiate on the 23 units that we had. I believe that now the offer is $20,000 per unit for the 24 unit. And I was wondering if we could be able to negotiate up to 25, which was originally recorded for the 24 or the 23 units that we have. Will that suffice? Because I don't, with all the information that has been going around, I lost track of what are we actually voting directly right now.
Yeah, maybe Beatrice could put the slide up that has the three options. I think the staff recommendation was that they would build one moderate unit on site, which would be now has a resale restriction. They would provide an in lieu payment of $20,000 for the 23 units that weren't built. That would total $460,000. And then they would provide the land dedication in parcel B, which would be the total parcels 15,950 square feet. That was staff's recommendation, but there's a slide that also shows like your three options. One option is to go with the staff recommendation. One option is to modify the money part and go up to, I think it's in the staff report, it says go up to the 25,000 per unit. That's an option. It's a pretty easy, change we can make in the agreement. Or three would be project, the proposed in lieu plan and give us a different alternative. Those are the three options.
Yes, thank you for that. And like I said before, I think that we should move on with this, and I will support number 2, modify the in lieu plan and go for the 25,000.
Is that a motion? I don't know.
Yeah, let's make it a motion. Modify the proposal to in lieu plan for 25,000 as recommended by staff.
Get a second and continue with your discussion.
Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem, are you making a motion? Just to clarify, because you're doing the modify in lieu plan and you said
yes,
25,000, so it's at 25,000, it gets us to, hold on,
close to 600,000.
575.
Yeah, 575. So if we add that to the value of the lots that we're getting is close to $1 million.
Okay, so there's a second on the motion. So there's a motion on the floor, and so I will have.
Can we roll
please.
call?
Yes.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Mayor Ana Velasquez,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Fernando Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernando Ansaldo Sanchez,
No. That was loud.
Yes.
Councilmember Ben Caldera.
Yes.
Okay, so motion passes.
Through the chair, the one thing I think this taught us is that we are going to be moving forward to develop an in lieu plan for our housing element, and we would love to work with the subcommittee, and at some point we'll bring an update to the council. So if you guys wanted to provide some direction so that we can, I think, make it easier for you in the future. Yeah, but I know it's hard without having the plan.
Yeah, so thank you, Megan. And I just want to make some final comments. So thank you for that. And I agree. I think we need to have an in lieu plan and a formula that we need to bring back as soon as possible, because this is not the way you want to negotiate deals. So, you know, the council made a decision and I'm going to honor that, but I'm just not comfortable and I don't want to enter into negotiations where we don't even have a formula and we're negotiating sometimes against ourselves. I just want to say for me is I'm not going to entertain, and the council can do whatever they decide to do, but I will not entertain any deals with the Miramonte project, because this is going to be our owner and potentially the developer. And so for me, this is not okay for our community, for us to continue to negotiate out of what our obligations are and what we expect from the housing that we know is needed for our community. So I want to be really clear that, you know, hopefully everything turns out okay, and the owner will not have to prove to the council and our community that he is committed to building what we agree upon on our affordable housing agreements and to honor those commitments. And I want to be clear that our housing needs from our families, our workforce housing, our low and very low income housing, it's not negotiable. And at least for me, this is not a good precedent that I want to set, and it's not a negotiable. Our families and our housing is not negotiable.
Can I also make a comment, Mayor?
Yes.
I want to also echo that I really hope this does not set a precedent for the Miramonte project, and that I am disappointed because since I was elected last March, I have been beating a dead horse about how we are not building houses for our missing middle, and I'm going to keep mentioning that, and I am disappointed. But it is something that the council voted on, and that's great and all, but I really do hope that this isn't something that continues and that we have negotiations that we have all the information on. And, you know, between when we met 2 weeks ago and now, I think there's a lot of additional information that was given, and that's why we were seeking clarification. And then this contingency on whether the in lieu passes or not with the Eden project is something that we didn't know, you all didn't know. So it's just, it makes it really difficult to have conversations when things like that are going on. Again, I hope staff knows that we do really appreciate everything that you do and everything that went into this, but I mean, also disappointed with this, and I just wanted to make that point.
Can I also
Thank
add
you.
a comment to Ms.?
Yes.
So, I know that it's always back and forth discussion, and I just wanted to praise you guys for just the amount of work that you guys do. But you know what? I just want to echo, and I just want to revert back to my comment. You know, as Mayor Velasquez had mentioned, you know, people are coming here to Soledad, you know, as far as from San Jose, because they're affordable. But I just want to really stress and get on record that we want to make sure that we have our Soledad residents have that first priority, because, you know, it's just more, again, you know, I'm thinking of the future. You know what, we've been sitting on this, you know, I wasn't on council, you know, back 20 years, you know, and she's had more of the familiar, you know, legalities and all that, you know, and I understand, but us looking at the future and us looking at, you know, the generations that are going to be investing here. I mean, I understand I want to be a homeowner and I'm not, you know, it's just because of my income, and I'm single, and it's just a challenge, you know, and I know that we are going to face challenges in regards to income, you know, credit, you know, everything that comes with, you know, buying a home here. And I understand that. But, you know, again, I just want to reiterate that, you know, with our general plan too, we have to look at it that way. So that's it.
Point of information, the first look, so to speak, is already built in it. So it's already was discussed. So it was going to happen kind of no matter what. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think my point of just information as well is this is why I wanted the council to know that in your affordable housing agreement that was attached to your council report, that was what we negotiated in the subcommittee when I was part of the subcommittee, that we wanted to make Soledad residents first. That's a language in the agreement that you have before you. That's a language that we kept. And yes, it wasn't perfect, but Soledad was at the forefront. Our residents were at the forefront, and they had the 5-week restriction to make sure that the first look, when those units became available, that they were available for our residents. So I just want to make that clear because that was negotiated as part of the original affordable housing agreement because we knew we wanted to prioritize our residents. So it's not that we didn't prioritize them. We did, and those are in the agreements. And that's my heartache is to ensure that when we add things to the agreement, that if the council is going to make any amendments, it's really important to be able to understand what's in those agreements. Okay, well, let's move on. So we'll move.
I'm sorry, Mayor,
If I may, I actually have a comment. I know we did instruct our staff to look into different options and they did. My take on this is that, you know, being that we have the property back, you know, we're gonna be taking it over. I believe that would be a task, like Megan said, that we can have the control over who's gonna develop and what we're gonna do with that land. And we can turn it into a middle or low income housing. So I think that's actually a good move, you know, because we're either gonna hold it or wait another 5, 10, 20 years. I think it's time for us to move forward. Yes.
Thank you. So, Megan, just to clarify, because the amendment, the Mayor Pro Tem brought forth an amendment and the amendment was for the 575, correct? So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
so it's
20
not for the 460, it's for the
no,
575.
It's the $25,000 per unit, which totals 575.
And I just want to clarify for the record that the motion was basically to approve the content of resolution number 6242, right? We didn't specifically mention the approval of that. It basically went with option number 2, which was to approve the resolution with that modification, which, you know.
Instead of the 460, instead of the 460, it's going to be the
Exactly. So
575.
25,000 is what adds up to a higher amount. So we will make that modification then to the agreement as well. Okay.
And then I'll just note that at some future meeting, we would come back for direction on what to do with the parcels, the 2 parcels that are part of the MOP proposal.
Okay, so we'll move on then to our next item on the agenda, which is mayor reports and acknowledgements. So let me I'm gonna go through mine really quick. Typically have mine information in front of me. I didn't have it today, but I have been attending different events. We had the town hall safety community meeting that what happened, and I want to say I can't remember what day, but in March.
The 29th.
The 29th, thank you. And so thank you to our staff for putting that together and for making sure that we had a lot of comments and feedback from that as well. So thank you for that. I think the traffic issue was really important. And then on Memorial Day, I did attend as well with some of my colleagues on the 26th. The Memorial Day services sponsored by our American Legion Post 32. So thank you. And it's important to continue to honor our veterans and provide housing for our veterans as well. And then on May 24th, I also attended, as I had mentioned, the summit, the youth summit that they had. And that was, kudos to them for everything that they did to be able to move that to fruition. Today we did meet with Supervisor Lopez as well as part of the mayor's and city managers meeting. And just kind of highlights of the meeting were more in regards to the budget. They did a presentation. Sonia De La Rosa, who's the CEO for the county, provided just a brief overview in terms of the budget concerns that they have. And one of the items to note is that they do have some budget issues, but they didn't cut any of the positions, and that was the intent of the supervisors to be able to do that. And then this morning, with Councilwoman Bañuelos, I attended the NJROTC flag retiring ceremony, as well as with our police department and our fire department. So just a big shout out to to the NJROTC for Soledad High School because they're, you know, they're really committed in our community, and just kudos to them for everything that they do as well. And I think I know I forgot a couple of meetings, but my time's almost running out. So I think, let me see if in case I see, just go back. Sorry. I usually write mine down. I didn't. Okay, well, I'll leave it at that just in case if I forgot anything. So thank you. Okay, so I'll move on to Councilwoman Bañuelos.
Yes, so I'm just gonna.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, but I haven't eat anything. Can I leave? Is it possible to leave the meeting?
That's up to you.
I mean, that's I don't know if, I'm gonna take it to our city attorney to see if
Yes.
that's a valid reason that we can have you leave the meeting.
Yeah, he can leave the meeting if whenever he wants. If he's saying that he needs to leave the meeting to eat, that's.
Just for information, I'm diabetic and I need a little bit of food. And if that is not a reason enough, man, maybe I called when I passed out. But I'm sorry, but I will leave the meeting. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And
Mayor,
yeah, and Darlene, the minutes for the meeting should note that Councilmember Cabrera left the meeting at 8:51.
okay, so just to clarify, you're not gonna provide your report. So we can allow that if you need to. If not, we'll see you later then. Okay, so let's move on then.
Okay. So May 23rd, I attended the 4th of July reverse draw. It was great. We raised funds. May 24th, I attended the community cleanup for the cemetery in preparation for the memorial service. May 26th, attended the memorial service along with Mayor Velasquez and Councilmember Cabrera. Hosted by American Legion, the Post 32, and it was a great service. April 28th, I actually attended the Town Hall Safety Committee in King City because I missed one in Soledad. So it was a good, same concerns that King City has is what we have in Soledad. Also, I attended on the 30th, the ribbon cutting for the Sun Street Center. That was a great event. We had probation out there. We had the Soledad PD out there as well. June 2nd, I did attend the art show at the Family Resource Center, hosted by the after school program for the Soledad Rec District. If it was a great turnout, all these kids, had so many canvases, with how to learn how to mix colors. And they had like a fluorescent building, like a black light painting. It was just a great experience and it was very heartfelt. Also on June 2nd, I had a briefing with Megan for our agenda. June 2nd, also, we had a 4th of July meeting, and June 2nd, I did arrive late to the raising of the pride flag, but I was here and I'm glad I attended. And then also today, June 4th, I did, with Mayor Velasquez, we did attend the flag learning ceremony hosted by the NJROTC along with our fire department and Soledad PD. So it's nice.
Sorry.
Councilmember Antaldo Sanchez.
Yes. Alrighty. I was not able to attend the Memorial Day service in Soledad, but I did through my job attend MPC's Memorial Day service, and that's when I learned about the I forget the terminology, I apologize, but I think missing man table, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah. So that was something that was interesting and I learned something new. I also attended the traffic meeting, I forgot what it's called, but last Thursday. And when we talked about all of our new stop signs and stuff, and my younger brother wants to let people know that his new best friend is the stop sign that is on San Vicente and Gavilan, because he says now he's not really stuck there when he's trying to turn to go to work in the mornings. So yeah, And then also I attended the Soledad Pride Committee. So I'm on the Soledad Pride board, but there's also a Pride Committee to throw Pride in October. So I am the vice president of the Salinas Valley Pride Celebrations Board, but I'm also the chair of the Pride Committee. So I'm tasked with the Pride Committee. Throwing the Pride event in October this year, which is really exciting. We have solidified a venue, which is Heirloom Pizza in Salinas, and it'll be October 11th, tentatively from 5 to 8 p.m. More information to come, but we're super excited. It's our 15-year anniversary. On June 2nd, I attended the LGBTQ plus Pride flag raising ceremony, which apparently was super contentious this year, even though it's our 4th year doing it. And I just wanted to kind of answer a question that someone said, that the city's not in the business of raising the pride flag, but actually we passed resolution number 6127 last year that says that we are in the business of raising the pride flag. And we also, they also mentioned that we should only be raising the American flag and the state of California flag and no other ceremonial flags, but I think it's important to raise ceremonial flags. When we did pass that resolution, I did ask for the pride flag to be flown in perpetuity, and I also asked for us to always fly our POW MIA flag as well, and I just wanted to let folks know that for clarification as well. And then on June 2nd, I also had my briefing with Megan, and then I had a discussion with Beatrice and Megan today as well. Thanks.
Thank you. And then just want to add just a point of information for our residents that we do have a flag policy. So the city in 2022 or 2023, 2022 did engage in a flag policy. So it is, it's part of our policy. So if anyone's interested in looking at it, I know that we were really thoughtful in all of the flags and the policies that we instituted because we had none prior to that. So Councilmember Caldera.
Actually, I have a couple. May 31st, I attended the Soledad Cleanup Day. Actually, one of the times I went a little too early and nobody was there. They were just bringing the containers. But then I went later on, maybe around 12:30, and it was actually really interesting, very nice. On June 3rd, I had a briefing with Megan, and kind of informed me about the council meeting items that we had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to add, because I forgot on mine, I did also attend the art exhibit with the rec, Soledad Rec, and it was really amazing. So I hope that we can get some other artwork here in our council chambers. And then I also attended the raising of the pride flag. So with that, city manager's report.
Yeah, so I wanted to let folks know that there is a community survey out there about the fire department. Please, a lot of people have received it. It's not fake. Please, please respond. We would greatly appreciate it. It will provide us a lot of critical information moving forward. I wanted to mention that we have June 11th will be our budget workshop. And we're gonna also open it up to the community. We will have it here, but we will try to do a lot of education. Our budget is very lean, and in fact, I had to actually ask staff today to cut anything that was discretionary as much as possible. So we'll talk a little bit about the budget. I did want to also mention that June 20th is going to be the ribbon cutting for the ladder truck and the apparatus bay, and we'll be pushing pretty hard in the next couple of weeks to let folks know about that. I also attended the King City Plaza ribbon cutting, and it was really inspiring. So if you haven't been down to the King City Plaza, I suggest you go. And I think, it's good for us to think about what we could do in a future for Cesar Chavez Park. And probably I have my work cut out for me to try to get grants. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, I believe that today, all council members did the right thing on the affordable housing. It's a lot of information. It's very complicated. And, I think everyone's heart is in the right place. And we've clearly heard our direction is that we have to make sure that we're building the affordable housing, that the city has not done a good job in doing that. And you're gonna hold me to task, I believe, to perform and to ensure that the housing is there. And we're very committed to ensuring that Soledad residents have access to these units, whether they're for sale or for rent. So I promise you that we'll continue to push forward, and we'll bring things to council and make sure that we get the direction, so we are clear in how to move forward, and we'll continue to work with this subcommittee. I did mention to the mayor that I've attended some really good trainings through NDC, the National Development Corporation. So I'm gonna see if any council, they have webinars and things about how to look at a pro forma and how to understand affordable housing finance. And if that's something that's of interest, I can make sure that we make that available to you, because I know you guys are passionate about doing the right thing, and sometimes there's a lot a lot at play when you're doing affordable housing finance.
Sorry.
Thank you, Megan. I just want a point of information as well, because I just want to, in terms of the plaza, the placita that was in King City, we actually had a similar layout for Cesar Chavez Park when we had some funding, right? And we had money set aside to do exactly that. And the council at that time did not vote for it.
So maybe something to bring back at some point when we can find the money for it. So I will be looking.
Okay, so no comments on that, then we'll go into future agenda items, and I'll start with Councilmember Caldera.
No.
Okay, Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Just a quick one. Street sweeping, more information on scheduling of that. I know we talked about it one-on-one, but I think that's important.
I believe that Tri-Cities is
It's actually, it's
yeah.
referenced in the upcoming Tri-Cities agreement that'll be brought forward to you. Is it gonna be at the next meeting or the?
I think it is at the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah.
And what we can do is we can have them maybe since they're gonna be here presenting the agreement, we could ask them to go over the street cleaning schedule.
I had $1 for every time I said something, and then it's like, oh, it's just the next meeting. Great. Then we could do the placita. Just kidding.
Megan? Yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Banuelos?
None.
Okay, and it's not just updates, Megan. I know you guys are doing a great job with the encampment. I know there's been a lot of community concerns, discussions, but there's a lot of information that's being disseminated, so thank you. But I think if we can get an update as well, just a staff update, and I think as we continue the process, it's probably a good idea just to have staff give us an update in terms of the town hall, in terms of the encampment, because I know that there's a 3-month of transition and there's other things happening in between, so I think that would be helpful to keep our community informed as well.
Do you want me to, I had that on my list, but I was trying to be quick. Do you want me to give just a brief?
Yeah, if
update?
you can.
Yeah, sure. So, for the community, we have 2 programs running simultaneously. We have the emergency motel program, where some of the encampment folks were moved in February. We have 10 folks who are staying at the motels, and we're working with them on housing navigation right now. The 10 that are in the motels are a little bit more housing ready. Then the remainder of the folks we have moved to the provisional encampment on Los Coches. There have been a few folks who have some mental health issues that have the transition been a little challenging, and we have been working through it. But generally speaking, most of the folks in the encampment have been, you know, adhering to the rules. We do have 24-hour security on site. And the goal is to bring a contract back to council for the site work. We had to go out to bid to do the site work, which would come back to council July 2nd. That's the goal. And we expect the construction to be complete, hopefully by early September. So that's kind of the time frame. We are offering at the provisional encampment, Step Up is there and providing services. And then for the public, we do have our own outreach worker. Her name is Kimberly Herrera. We will make sure to provide her phone number on, I think it's already linked up there, her phone number and email to our website if people want to ask questions. But since I'm giving this verbal report, and if anyone is reviewing this video, her phone number is 831-205-9859. And then lastly, I did want to make it clear that the program that we receive funding for is for the individuals that were identified at the time that the grant application was submitted. We have those folks on a list. The police department even gave them a City of Soledad ID. And so we've been telling folks who are not on the list, there are not services here for them, but we do try to assist by sending them to the services. But we don't want to attract other people from other jurisdictions for services. We're working to resolve our issues here in Soledad. We're not here to take on all of South County homeless issues. So we've been very clear, and we've been working with the police on that. So I just want the public to know that as well.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you for, clarifying that. So we have good information that's being disseminated. Okay, council. So with that, I don't think there's any other items of business. So, oh, wait, I forgot my future agenda. I did already have, I did. Okay, so with that, we adjourn this meeting at 9:00.